Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Arabindaya. Om Anandamayee Saitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Savitri. Book 7. The Book of Yoga. Canto 6. Nirvana and the Discovery of the All. Negating Absolute. A calm, slow sun looked down from tranquil heavens. A rooted, sullen rear guard of retreat. The lost rains had fled murmuring across the woods, or failed, a sibilant whisper mid the leaves, and the great blue enchantment of the sky recovered the deep rapture of its smile, its mellow splendor unstressed by storm-licked heats, found room for a luxury of warm, mild days. The night's gold treasure of autumnal moons came floating, shipped through ripples of fairy air, and Savitri's life was glad, fulfilled like earth's. She had found herself. She knew her being's aim.
Although her kingdom of marvelous change within remained unspoken in her secret breast, all that lived round her felt its magic's charm. The trees' rustling voices told it to the winds. Flowers spoke in ardent hues and unknown joy. The birds' caroling became a canticle. The beasts forgot their strife and lived at ease, absorbed in white communion with the unseen. The mild ascetics of the wood received a sudden greatening of their lonely muse.
This bright perfection of her inner state, poured overflowing into her outward scene, made beautiful, dull, common natural things an action wonderful and time divine. Even the smallest, meanest work became a sweet or glad and glorious sacrament, an offering to the self of the great world, or a service to the one in each and all.
A light invaded all from her being's light. Her heartbeat's dance communicated bliss. Happiness grew happier, shared with her by her touch, and grief some solace found when she drew near. Above the cherished head of Satyavan, she saw not now fate's dark and lethal orb, a golden circle round a mystic sun, disclosed to her newborn predicting sight, the cyclic ronger of a sovereign life.
Inner visions and deep-etched vertical dreams, in brief shiftings of the future's heavy screen, he lay not by a dolorous decree, a victim in the dismal entry of death, or born to blissful regions far from her, forgetting the sweetness of earth's warm delight, forgetting the passionate oneness of love's clasp, absolved in the self-wrapped immortal's bliss. Always he was with her, a living soul that met her eyes with close enamored eyes, a living body near to her body's joy.
But now no longer in these great wild woods, in kinship with the days of bird and beast, and levelled to the bareness of earth's brown breast, but mid the thinking, high-built lives of men, in tapestried chambers and on crystal floors, in armoured town or gardened pleasure walks, even in distance closer than her thoughts, body to body near to soul, moving as if by a common breath and well, they were tied in the single circling of their days together by love's unseen atmosphere, inseparable like the earth and sky.
Thus for a while she trod the golden path. This was the sun before abysmal night. Once, as she sat in deep felicious muse, still quivering from her lover's strong embrace, and made a joy a bridge twixt earth and heaven, an abyss yawned suddenly beneath her heart.
A vast and nameless fear dragged at her nerves, as drags a wild beast its oft-slaughtered prey. It seemed to have no den from which it sprang. It was not hers, but hid its unseen cause. Then rushing came its vast and fearful fount, a formless dread with shapeless, endless wings, filling the universe with its dangerous breath. A denser darkness than the night could bear enveloped the heavens and possessed the earth.
A rolling surge of silent death it came, curving round the far edge of the quaking globe. Effacing heaven with its enormous stride, it willed to expunge the choked and anguished air, and end the fable of the joy of life. It seemed her very being to forbid, abolishing all by which her nature lived, and labored to blot out her body and soul, a clutch of some half-seen invisible, an ocean of terror and of sovereign might, a person and a black infinity.
It seemed to cry to her, without thought or word, the message of its dark eternity, and the awful meaning of its silences, out of some sullen, monstrous, vast horizon, out of an abysmal deep of grief and fear, imagined by some blind, regardless self, a consciousness of being without its joy, empty of thought, incapable of bliss, that felt life blank and nowhere found a soul, a voice to the dumb anguish of the heart, conveyed a stark sense of unspoken words.
In her own depths she heard the unuttered thought that made unreal the world and all life meant. Who art thou who climbs the crown of separate birth, the illusion of the soul's reality, and personal godhead on an ignorant globe, in the animal body of imperfect man?
Hope not to be happy in a world of pain, and dream not, listening to the unspoken word, and dazzled by the inexpressible ray, transcending the mute superconscious realm to give a body to the unknowable, or for a sanction to thy heart's delight, to burden with bliss the silent, still supreme, profaning its bare and formless sanctity, or call into thy chamber the divine, and sit with God, tasting a human joy.
I have created all I devour. I am death and the dark terrible mother of life. I am Kali black and naked in the world. I am Maya and the universe is my cheat. I lay waste human happiness with my breath, and slay the will to live, the joy to be, that all may pass back into nothingness, and only abide the eternal and absolute.
For only the blank eternal can be true. All else is shadow and flash in mind's bright glass. Mind, hollow mirror in which ignorance sees, a splendid figure of its own false self, and dreams it sees a glorious solid world.
O soul, inventor of man's thoughts and hopes, thyself, the invention of the moment's stream, illusion's center or subtle apex point, at last know thyself, from vain existence cease.
A shadow of the negating absolute. The intolerant darkness travelled sagging past, and aped in her the formidable voice.
It left behind her inner world laid waste, a barren silence weighed upon her heart. Her kingdom of delight was there no more. Only her soul remained, its emptied stage, awaiting the unknown eternal will.
Then from the heights a greater voice came down, the word that touches the heart and finds the soul, the voice of light after the voice of night. The cry of the abyss drew heaven's reply, a might of storm chased by the might of the sun.
O soul, bear not thy kingdom to the foe, consent to hide thy royalty of bliss, lest time and fate find out its avenues, and beat with thunderous knock upon thy gates. Hide, whilst thou canst, thy treasure of separate self, behind the luminous rampart of thy depths, till of a vaster empire it grows part.
But not for self alone, the self is one. Content abide not with one conquered realm. Adventure all to make the whole world thine. To break into greater kingdoms, turn thy foes.
Fear not to be nothing, that thou mayst be all. Assent to the emptiness of the Supreme, that all in thee may reach its absolute. Accept to be small and human on the earth, interrupting thy newborn divinity, that man may find his utter self in God.
If for thy own sake only thou hast come, an immortal spirit into the mortal's world, to found thy luminous kingdom in God's dark, in the inconscience realm one shining star, one door in the ignorance opened upon light, why hadst thou any need to come at all?
Thou hast come down into a struggling world to aid a blind and suffering mortal race, to open to light the eyes that could not see, to bring down bliss into the heart of grief, to make thy life a breach twixt earth and heaven.
If thou wouldst save the toiling universe, the vast universal suffering feel as thine, thou must bear the sorrow that thou claimest to heal. The day bringer must walk in darkest night. He who would save the world must share its pain.
If he knows not grief, how shall he find grief's cure? If far he walks above mortality's head, how shall the mortal reach the too high path? If one of theirs they see scale heaven's peaks, men then can hope to learn the Titan climb.
God must be born on earth, and we as man, that man being human may grow even as God. He who would save the world must be one with the world. All suffering things contained in his heart's space, and bear the grief and joy of all that lives.
His soul must be wider than the universe, and feel eternity as its very stuff, rejecting the moment's personality, know itself older than the birth of time, creation an incident in its consciousness, Arcturus and Belpeher grains of fire, circling in a corner of its boundless self, the world's destruction a small transient storm, In the calm infinity it has become.
If thou wouldst a little loosen the vast chain, draw back from the world that the idea has made, thy mind's selection from the infinite, thy senses gloss on the infinitesimal dance, then shalt thou know how the great bondage came.
Banish all thought from thee and be God's word. Then shalt thou uncover the unknowable and the superconscient. Conscious grow on thy tops. Infinity's vision through thy gaze shall pierce.
Thou shalt look into the eyes of the unknown, find the hid truth in things seen null and false, behind things known discover mysteries rare.
Thou shalt be one with God's bare reality and the miraculous world He has become, and the diviner miracle still to be, when nature, who is now unconscious God, translucent, grows to the eternal's light. Her seeing is sight, her walk is steps of power, and life is filled with a spiritual joy, and matter is the spirit's willing bride.
Concern to be nothing and none. Dissolve time's work. Cast off thy mind. Step back from form and name. Annul thyself that only God may be. Thus spoke the mighty and uplifting voice. And Savitri heard. She bowed her head and mused, plunging her deep regard into herself in her soul's privacy in the silent night.
Aloof and standing back, detached and calm, a witness of the drama of herself, a student of her own interior scene, she watched the passion and the toil of life, and heard in the crowded thoroughfares of mind the unceasing tread and passage of her thoughts.
All she allowed to raise that chose to stare, calling, compelling not, forbidding not, she left all to the process formed in time and the free initiative of nature's will.
Thus, following the complex human play, she heard the prompter's voice behind the scenes, perceived the original libretto's set, and the organ theme of the composer force.
All she beheld that surges from man's depths, the animal instincts prowling mid life's trees, the impulses that whisper to the heart, and passion's thunder chase sweeping the nerves. She saw the powers that stare from the abyss, and the worldless light that liberates the soul.
But most her gaze pursued the birth of thought, afranced from the look of surface mind. She paused not to survey the official case, the issue of forms from the office of the brain, its factory of thoughts, sounds, and soundless words, and voice stored within unheard by men, its mint and treasury of shining coin.
These were but counters in mind's symbol game.
a gramophone's disc, a reproduction's film, a list of signs, a cipher, and a code. In our unseen, subtle body, thought is born, or there it enters from the cosmic field.
Oft from a soul stepped out a naked thought, luminous with mysterious lips and wonderful eyes, or from a heart emerged some burning face, and looked for life and love and passionate truth, aspired to heaven or embraced the world, or let the fancy like a fleeting moon across the dull sky of man's common days, amidst the doubtful certitudes of earth's lore, to the celestial beauty of faith gave form, as if at flower prints in a dingy room, laughed in a golden vase one living rose.
A thaumaturgist sat in her heart's deep, compelled the forward stride, the upward look, till wonder leaped into illumined breast, and life grew marvellous with transfiguring hope. A seeing will pondered between the brows, thoughts glistening, angels stood behind the brain, in flashing armour, folding hands of prayer, and poured heaven's rays into the earthly form.
Imaginations flamed up from her breast, unearthly beauty, touches of surpassing joy, and plans of miracle, dreams of delight. Around her navel lotus clustering close, her large sensations of the teeming world streamed their dumb movements of the unformed idea. Invading the small sensitive flower of the throat, they brought their mute unuttered resonances to kindle the figures of a heavenly speech.
Below, desires formed their wordless wish, and longings of physical sweetness and ecstasy translated into the accents of a cry, their grasp on objects and their clasp on souls. Her body's thoughts climbed from her conscious limbs and carried their yearnings to its mystic ground, where nature's murmurs meet the ineffable.
But for the mortal prisoned in outward mind, all must present their passports at its door. Disguised, they must don the official cap and mask, or pass as manufacturers of the brain. Unknown their secret truth and hidden source. Only to the inner mind they speak direct. Put on a body and assume a voice. Their passage seen, their message heard and known, their birthplace and their natal mark revealed, and stand confessed to an immortal sight, our nature's messengers to the witness soul.
Impenetrable, withheld for mortal sense, the inner chambers of the spirit's house disclosed to her their happenings and their guests. Eyes looked through crevices in the invisible wall, and through the secrecy of unseen doors, there came into mind's little frontal room thoughts that enlarged our limited human range, lifted the ideal's half-quenched or sinking torch, or peered through the finite at the infinite. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Arvindaya. Om Anandamayee Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame.
आनंदमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे आनंदमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे आनंदमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे चैतन्य